Hello, FunGraph. Okay, yes, great. Thank you, everyone. For our mentors, you can join me on the stage. Yep, you can join me on the stage so we can all broadcast our answers and all the things that we might want to say on stage that everyone can hear. Okay, inviting all our mentors on the stage. Come, come, come. Great. Okay. Wow, I'm happy to see some participants that we already have seen for the last AMA. Yep. Okay, how are you guys? All right. Okay, that's a good number. And I'm hoping that you're having a smooth coding nowadays because we are just 4 days away from our deadline. So our submission deadline will be on August 8th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So please make sure to mark your calendars, and as much as possible, you can submit your deliverables earlier than August 8th. You can also win a prize for that. So please submit it before August 6th, then you'll be able to get additional prize for submitting it early. Please visit our hackathon listing on Dora Hacks to see more details about it. Yep. Okay, I think we have a good number out here. If you have friends who wants to join or your teammates haven't joined this AMA session just yet, please invite them so because it will be a great avenue for you to talk to your mentors, polish all your submissions or anything under the sun about your projects or about the deliverables you wanted to make. So please uh, help us join this session because this is such a great place for you to make sure that everything is on the path. Okay, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you in this AMA session. We fittingly entitled this specific AMA session as your final push to the finish line. Yes, because we are really pushing to the finish line of Origins. So please take this chance to talk to your mentors regarding your submission, as what I mentioned a while back, for specific track or anything about the project for Hedera Origins Hackathon. Once again, this is just the start of our trilogy, and we're still yet to unfold the upcoming Ascension and Apex. And I think we have received a couple of questions about what's going to happen after Origins. Yep, so there will be more in upcoming announcement about the Ascension and Apex. So please tune into Discord. Okay, so please note that in this session we have two parts. One is a broadcast session, just like what I'm doing now, to answer public questions we receive from the forms of our AMA sessions. So our mentors will be able to answer you for anything that you have put in the forms initially or earlier this week, maybe, or last week. Yep, so all these questions will be tackled later live. Next is an exclusive one on one session with your mentor in private rooms. There are two options for you to go. We have private rooms above. If you can just scroll your mouse above, you would see that there are a couple of private rooms available, at least 5 private rooms. Then, yeah, you can just go there and check with your mentor. And this is definitely a private chat or a private talk. Next is on your right from the screen, you will see cafe chairs and tables. If you can see the Good Vibes Cafe out there. Yes, so you can park yourself within a box, and there you can have an exclusive or so-called private conversation with your mentor. So normally, whoever is inside the box that will light up are the people that can talk in private. Okay, next is I would like to let you know that for everyone, we can just gather at the center where you can see the Hedera with a heart. Yeah, so you can just listen in there, and there are three cute little objects that you can see. So if you're, of course, facing your screen from your left, you can see the purple game console. If you click that, that's the Hidera's playground, and it will bring you directly to the page. No worries, without leaving this space, okay? You can still hear us, so you can just really run around and play around and see what this page has. And on your right side, with a claw machine object, that link is to the contract builder. So once again, you can click that and you'll be directed to the page, and you won't lose this space. You can still listen in, okay? Next, finally, in the middle, where you can see a soccer table game. Please click onto it and you can get your NFT. This is a reward for your time and effort to participate in this AMA session. Amazing, right? Hedera is very generous. So in the detail, this is what you can do. When you click that soccer table game, you will click into it and it will bring you to complete the challenger survey. So please complete that survey and please follow the fields correctly, fill in the fields correctly, and then you will get a whitelist spot for the starter developer NFT. You will receive it in the next 6 to 8 hours around that after this event, and you can mint it via Lazy Superheroes platform. So it's quite intuitive. Once you complete that form, it will bring you the instruction will bring you to the pages that you needed it to be. Lastly, after completing the survey, you know that this is your automatic entry into our Hedera swag raffle. I'm not so sure if we're still sticking into three, but maybe there is a surprise for that. So please join and please participate so that you can get those wonderful swags. Right. So to qualify for this, please join the live AMA. Well, all of you are here, of course. Then ask questions, share ideas, or engage with our mentors. Okay, so before I give the stage to our mentors to answer the questions that we have received, please be reminded that our submission ends on the 8th of August. Once again, 11:59 Eastern Time. Refine your projects and submit it as early as possible. Okay, I guess we have a good number out here and we can start. Mentors, this is my first question. This is for legacy builders. I have pasted it on the screen on your thread. Then we can all read it together. Since Hedera recently announced its move into the Linux Foundation's Hierro initiative, does that change the type of innovation you want to see from developers in this hackathon? How does it affect governance and ecosystem growth? Our legacy builders, mentors?
Hello, Shirlene. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, clear.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So let me reread the question and make sure I understand. I mean, I think the move to the Linux Foundation for Hierro is just a true embrace of the open source philosophy in terms of changing the types of innovations that we want to see. That's a very interesting angle. I mean, I think we still want to see innovations that are going to drive real world adoption and usage of Web3, of distributed ledger technologies. Now, if that happens to live in the open source world, like that's great. But again, I don't think how it would necessarily change, or I don't see how it would necessarily change the type of innovations that we want to see in the hackathon. I think what it would change is certainly you know um, maybe the type of contributions that we want to see, like instead of um, just building something that is going to be closed source. If you want to contribute it to the Hierro repositories, I think that's where you know you can have that impactful contribution that is going to be leveraged by other folks. But um, yeah, then we would get into the realm of tooling and things like that. So which doesn't necessarily have tracks associated with it for the hackathon. Now, if you were to build, like a tool in the area of AI that could be contributed to Hierro, I think that's a perfect alignment where you can benefit from building on a track, and then you benefit from contributing to this open source set of components that Hedera has on the Hierro um, repositories in the Linux Foundation. So it's an interesting question. I don't have like a definitive answer. I would say it doesn't necessarily change the type of contributions. If anything, it's just more welcoming to the type of contributions that you can make in these repositories. I'm not sure if any other mentor would like to add or bring some additional points.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear
Yep.
you.
Yeah, I think as well on that question, they sort of signed it off asking how it affects governance and ecosystem growth. And I'm just going to put a link in the chat as well to where that was announced. And there's some other good links on there where they talk about sort of where and why Hierro is so good for the ecosystem.
Thanks for providing that. Look, I guess we can move on to the next question. So this is from I'm not really sure how to read this, but Axo Loto, I guess. Okay, so our project is a browser extension, but I've noticed that publishing to extension stores requires a review process that may take several days. In case the review isn't completed before the hackathon deadline, what would be the recommended way to submit our extension for the judges to review?
So for this one, obviously, I'm assuming all of the code lives in a Git repo, and there is some sort of developer environment where you're able to sort of test it. Presumably, that's how you've done your own testing while developing. So a really thorough video demo showcasing the product, showcasing what you've built would be very important, and then obviously making sure that all of the source code is in a GitHub repository with instructions on how can you spin up your own developer environment to test it. That would be more than enough. We're definitely not expecting things to not having it deployed onto a marketplace is not going to take away from any of your sort of your submission. It's not going to make it worse or better. However, really making it clear in terms of through the video demo, showing that, and then also how can you set it up so that one of the judges, if they need to, can spin it up and run it locally, which I'm assuming you can do. I'm assuming there is like a developer environment for extensions.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that, Jake. And then they have provided a link for you to refer to. Okay, next is what does Hedera expect from submissions? Innovative projects, cool team for future cooperation.
I mean, I'm happy to take an initial stab at that one.
Mhm.
I would say, in terms of what Hedera expects, I think that's up to you to come up with something that is going to blow it out of the water with alignment with the judging criteria, right? I think the judging criteria is one of those key elements that is going to reflect what Hedera is expecting to see from the submissions. We ideally the judges will, you know, want to see high quality when it comes to execution, to integrations, to market success. And so don't, build something just because it's cool and because it uses crypto technology. Build something because it actually has some sort of market need, some market validation. Then you have the ability to integrate this technology and solve a problem in a key vertical like AI, like sustainability, like tokenization. So, it is an open-ended answer, but it's also a very open-ended question in terms of what is expected to see. And it's not like Hedera necessarily has a single expectation outside of the tracks that are provided. I think the best expectation is going to be, or the expectation is, what are the highest quality projects that solve the problems, the most complex problems in the most effective way. And I think those are the teams that will, have very good luck talking to the foundations, progressing the conversation, and continuing to build in future hackathons, and hopefully bring value to the ecosystem via usage, via adoption of the technology, and so on. So yeah, make sure you align with the tracks, align with the judging criteria, and make sure you understand that market to ensure that you're solving a difficult market problem in a very effective way. I would say is probably the best guideline I can provide for that question.
Great. Okay. Any of our mentors would like to add on that? Okay, I guess we can move on. Okay, Zen, sure, welcome. Next question that we have is I really like the idea of the legacy builders track. For projects that started in earlier hackathons, should we focus mainly on polishing what we already built? Or is it fine to pivot and take the idea in a completely new direction?
Another great question, Jellyfish. I mean, I think the benefit of being able to participate in the legacy builder track is that you can advance what you already built, right? Like you don't have to start from scratch. However, if you want to pivot, you certainly can. But that means you're going to have to, build a lot more and a lot faster compared to if you were to leverage that starting point that you already had. And so that again, that was the whole point of the legacy track, so that you can continue to develop that solution that you had built in a previous hackathon. And then potentially, if you want to keep running with it in a future hackathon, which we're going to have two more as part of this Hello Future series, then you have a pathway forward to keep focusing and optimizing and refining this solution that you're building. Again, you have the freedom to do both, but I would encourage you to stay on that thing that you built. But again, if you think this is the time to pivot, if you're realizing, okay, this initial idea, it's not panning out, it's not aligned with the market problem, or it's people are not really open to adopting it, then yeah, of course you're welcome to pivot. That's
I,
ultimately for you, but I would suggest refining and optimizing.
yeah, I think just my thoughts are it's a really interesting question because to be honest, I at least haven't put too much thought into it. What my immediate reaction would be is if it is like a total U-turn and you're doing let's say I don't know, let's say your original product is an AI an AI powered marketplace for trading tokens, and then the pivot you're talking about is suddenly you're going to create a sustainability use case which has nothing to do with AI or trading tokens, then probably just submit in a fresh new track. Don't apply for the legacy builder. Apply for the sustainability track. Um, if the pivot is still broadly serving a similar problem just with a different approach, then yeah, that would be a good example of maybe still being within the legacy builder. But if it's totally different, definitely still submit it to the project. Sorry, definitely still submit it to the hackathon. But it might even be worth just putting it into a new track, because you're sort of building something which is brand new. And I guess to Ed's point, we've got future hackathons, we've got Hello Apex, and we've got Ascension and Apex. So if you do pivot and it's so different that, I mean, you just can't even see anything from your previous submission in it, submit it into a new track now. But for part 2 and part 3, you can take that and put it into the legacy builders, if that makes sense.
All right. Okay. Any of our mentors would like to add? Okay, I guess I can move on to the next question that we received. Some of us joined the Hello Future Hackathon in 2024. From what you've seen, what's the biggest change or improvement in Origins 2025 compared to the last year's event?
I'm happy to take that one since I had some insights from 2024. I think biggest change, I think it relates to the role of AI. I think we have seen a lot more clarity in 2025 around the narrative that is prevalent in the market, right? In 2024, we knew AI and blockchain had something to do together. There was a narrative around, okay, these applications and use cases are cool, but it wasn't very clear as to what the applications could be. And this year in 2025, I think we gain a lot of clarity with agents, among other things, right? But I think agents have taken over a big portion of the narrative in Web3. We've seen a lot of other networks also developing tooling around making it easier to build with agents. That's also something that we have come up with the AI Agent Kit SDK that is available right now. And I think that has been a very impactful change. And then there has been additional clarity in other areas of overlap between Web3 and AI, right? Maybe compensation for human authors, maybe around bringing more clarity to the decision making and communications and inference of AI models. Also data integrity, that one has been around for a little while. So I would say that has been the biggest change from the market and track perspective. And then when it comes to improvements, I think perhaps more clarity around tokenization, around DeFi as well, right? Like we've seen tremendous growth in the DeFi ecosystem. I think that drives new opportunities for hackers to build creative things in the DeFi space. And also with tokenization has, I think with everything that has happened in the regulatory space, in the institutional space, um, that's also bringing a lot of demand and a lot of interest in the tokenization front. So I would say those two are changes slash improvements that we've seen from the market perspective. Now, please clarify if that's what you meant, when you were thinking about improvements, or if you were thinking specifically about how the hackathons are run. I thought the market perspective was more interesting, but I can also talk about changes and improvements from the event perspective. Um, so maybe just to provide one point around that second idea, in terms of improvements about the events, I think the level of engagement from the hackers, the quality of the questions, like I've seen very good engagement on Discord and also here throughout the AMAs, right? I think you can always invite more friends, bring more people to the discussion, but I think I've seen a tangible improvement in that regard. So I'll leave it there. And if any other mentors want to add any few points, any additional points, please do.
Any of our mentors would like to add? 3, 2, 1. Okay, I guess we can move into another question. Can a project be entered into two tracks like legacy builders and DeFi? I will also be mentioning the next question to this. Maximum number of entries or submission one team could handle. So if you are submitting for a main track, you can only submit for one main track. You can only choose one main track of your choice. It's either AI, sustainability, uh, hold on. Yeah, so it's either about AI, sustainability, DeFi and tokenization, or legacy builders. So if you wanted to really submit another one, we have an additional track or bounty, and we call it Dev Experience. And the Dev Experience is something that you can submit along with one main track of your choice. So once again, one of the main tracks should be AI and agents, DeFi and tokenization, sustainability, and legacy builders. Yup. And you can read more about this on our submission guidelines from Dora Hack's hackathon listing. Mm. Okay, then I guess I will move to another technical question we have received on the form. Here we go. For DeFi and tokenization track, will judges be more excited about projects tied to the real world asset, like tokenized carbon credits or commodities? Or there is still strong interest in experimental DeFi protocol? Is the push the boundaries?
I could take this one on, and I think it I guess the answer is it depends, because if you have a look at the marking criteria, which I really recommend definitely checking out, because that's obviously what we are sort of marking by. Where can it be found on the website, Sherlyn? Is that something which you can share?
Yep. You can find it from our Dora Hacks listing itself.
It's
But
on the DoorHacks website. Okay, right. I think Giuseppe was trying to share it, but there's some weird thing where hackathon is being
yes.
blurred out for some reason. It's like being filtered. Anyway, okay. If you go to that website which has all the spaces, and then you remove all of the spaces, you're able to see the marking criteria. And reason why I bring up the marking criteria is because if I remember correctly, and I'm just putting it up now myself, there is a section for so we've got innovation being 10%, and that, and essentially what that means is 10% of the let me actually share the actual the criteria over here. There we go. That's the still got the hackathon blurred out. Okay, so yeah, so we have a judging criteria which marks for innovation, and if you are just doing something which has already been done, to be honest, the innovation score is going to be pretty low. I mean, if it's like a really basic thing, probably wouldn't be more than, let's say, 2 out of 5. Whereas if you're pushing the boundary, you're doing something which has not been done before, is really novel, you're going to score quite well on the innovation side. But obviously you then need to sort of balance that with feasibility, because sometimes you might have this crazy idea which is just totally unfeasible and nobody would use, because maybe it's like really not safe or whatever. So then you sort of, it's like trying to balance the best of them. If you do have a look, the most important ones are really execution and integration. Those are the big marks where essentially no matter what it is, if you're demonstrating that you use that you've integrated the Hideera systems really well, you've executed on it, you've got working functions which interact with the Hideera ecosystem, you've done small details like verify your smart contracts, make it really easy for the judges to see what tokens or contracts or transactions that you've had. These sorts of details will actually really support your submission. And yeah, it's sort of there's those are what I'd really focus on. And then obviously, if you do want to go for something which is very innovative, you will likely score highly on the innovation, but potentially risk scoring lower on things like feasibility.
Right. That is cool. And I think someone has provided a bit.ly URL. Great. Thank you so much for that, Panda. Okay. And of course, you can also just search it on a search bar, typing Hello Future Trilogy. All right. We have a lot of questions, by the way. Next thing is the trilogy format is super unique. Are uh, are teams expected to carry their MVP forward from Origins, Ascension to Apex and keep improving it? Or is each hackathon more like a standalone chance to build something new?
I'm happy to take an initial stab, and ultimately, it's on you. It depends on what you want to do. So you have some flexibility. However, I do believe that you're gonna get the most value if you take the first approach. If you start building something that a great MVP for this Origins hackathon, and then you continue running with it throughout the Ascension and Apex hackathons. Why? Because you have the opportunity to optimize, to refine, and to also maybe even get market feedback in those periods in between hackathons to improve that solution. Then you can really build something robust over multiple months, as opposed to trying to build a fully fledged product in like a 3-week period for a single hackathon, which can be very difficult. So it's up to you. If you want to explore different ideas, you find out that maybe your initial idea doesn't pan out, doesn't get any traction, then you have the flexibility to pivot. But again, I do believe most value will be realized if you identify that great idea, start building that MVP, and run with it for the other 2 hackathons. So just to summarize my answer, you have some flexibility there, but yeah, if you can continue to run with that MVP, I think that will give you the best shot, not only at winning, but also at maybe establishing a very good conversation with the foundation and the um, ecosystem growth funds, so that you can get the type of support that you might need if you're able to build a very compelling MVP past your hackathon phases.
Yeah, I just want to double down on the point on sort of on the foundation and the ecosystem funds, because obviously, as you may or may not know, there are a lot of there is a lot of capital available, a lot of grants available for people who are building stuff which is really going to help drive the network forward. And sort of as Ed mentioned, if you're able to sort of stick through 3 hackathons which are spaced over 5 to 6 months and keep building and use the mentor's guidance in every step of the way, that narrative, assuming you want to actually make this product not just be a hackathon submission, something even bigger, you want to start your own business on Hedera, on Web3, it's a really good opportunity to give you sort of that leapfrog where you're going to have incentives for doing well. Obviously, look at the criteria. The criteria is heavily based around what would make these submissions be successful applications towards things like the Hedera Foundation or the grant pool, which Thrive protocol has as well. So if you're sort of thinking here, bigger picture, like, yeah, I want to be here in the Hideera ecosystem, I want to build something which is actually used by a lot of people, then probably the former approach is going to be good.
Okay, wonderful answer, Jake. Thank you. So, yes, if you still need more help from your mentor, it's not just the EMA, but you can also connect them on Discord. So, we have this mentor assistance channel on Discord where you can interact with your mentors. And then, of course, with our upcoming Ascension and Apex, there will be more EMAs. Oh, okay. There's a follow up question. Where can I find more information on growing my business? Anyone, mentors?
So, it's a really very broad question. I think if you're talking, maybe I'm going to assume you're talking specifically growing it within the Web3 ecosystem, then in that case, well, Web3 is very unique because obviously it's so community centric, and actually some of the best ways to actually grow it okay, there we go, you've just clarified with Hideera. Yeah, cool. So it's a good point. I might be wrong. I don't think we do really have any material on how can you grow your project on Hideera, and actually I think it'd be a really interesting thing to explore. But just sort of off the top of my head, with sort of being in here in the ecosystem, I think and understanding the Web3 culture, a lot of it is getting involved in Discord channels. There's obviously the Hedera Discord channel, which you can join. There's other community channels, Telegrams and X, and just going down the organic route of talking with people, engaging with people, putting in a bit of effort to find out what people are building, sharing with them what you're building. And you'll find that because we are a relatively small ecosystem where everyone's on the same page and building together, you're going to get a lot of help. You can definitely ping me separately. Yeah, someone's just put up my Discord on there. If you at me on one of the on the Hello Future channels, I can also point you in some directions and give you some support. But to your first question, maybe it would be a really good idea for us to give some guidance on how can you build a business on Hedera, which channel should you join, because I don't think we have anything specific like that yet, but I might be wrong. Maybe one of my colleagues here can jump in and say that we've got this how-to guide on the more of the business side, because we've got a lot of stuff in development, but maybe not on the BD.
Okay.
Can I add to this? I think in general, like, I think networking is like the best thing you can do within our ecosystem. You talk to the community, you meet other founders, and you start building integrations or build relationships. And in the end, that's like one of the best ways to grow your business, besides having like good templates and processes for everything you do in general. I think this applies to like any kind of business in the end.
Firmin, is there any, because so Firmin's our community manager. I'm just wondering, Firmin, if there's would it make sense to try and get these discussions inside of the weekly developer calls that we have, those casual ones on Discord?
So just to jump in for Fermin here while he figures out his mic situation, I think it's a very interesting topic. Again, I think we'll have to go back to the drawing board and identify if it does make sense for a technology to give business advice. I don't think necessarily advice would be the right approach. However, as Michiel mentioned, we are here to support and facilitate your networking and visibility within the ecosystem, and it's being part of the right conversations and the right groups that can help you identify that path for growth within the Hedera ecosystem. And I do think our foundation and ecosystem development funds have a big role to play in supporting you, with strategic conversations, strategic connections. But yeah, I think it's a conversation that we will have to take separately to see, first, what do you mean by growing your business? Like, Do you mean growing your team? Do you mean growing the target audience that you reach? And then what vertical are you operating in, and see how that aligns with the direction and trajectory of the Hedera ecosystem. So it's a very broad and interesting question that I think requires some additional discussion. And so I think, to Jake's last point, yeah, if you want to either connect directly via Discord or through those open developer Q&As that we have every week, that's where we can explore more about that.
Okay, just to add, if you look at the left side of your screen and you click the link icon, you would be able to see a link going to Hedera's Discord. I think that's very helpful for you to be directed if you're not on Discord just yet. Okay, so let me move forward to another question. Okay, I have an unfinished version of a project was submitted in a previous hackathon. Is it required to be entered in the legacy builder track, or can the track we feel is the best fit chosen?
If you're choosing to return to this hackathon with that existing project, then yes, please go ahead and submit to the Legacy Builders track. Um, if you were to apply with that existing project to any of the other tracks, I think that I would automatically kind of put you back on the legacy track. I think that's the approach that we've specified in the rules. So that's probably the answer that I can provide there.
Okay, sure. So we have received a question from HBAR Innovator. We've built Edgeflow, an inventory management MVP on Hedera, and already have 4 businesses ready for a pilot. Our immediate need is strategic coaching to ensure this real-world launch is successful. What mentorship and resources can the Hideera ecosystem provide for a project that's ready to onboard actual businesses today?
So over here, well, firstly, I just want to say congrats. I think that's really, really great that you've got 4 people who are interested in joining for a pilot. I definitely, again, going back towards that judging criteria where one of the metrics is validation. I think at the moment it's rated at 20 odd percent or something, 15-20%. So that's really great. And if that's the case, then you're going to score very highly on that. What I would suggest for you is probably, I mean, well, maybe wait until we get our maybe wait until we get sort of the winner results in, or just go straight to applying for a grant at the Hideera Foundation and really emphasize, look, I've got 4 people who are ready to pilot. Let them know who else is in your pipeline, and probably get that going, because you'd be in a really good position where you've evidenced that people want to use this this inventory management application that you've built on Hideera, and someone like the foundation would definitely be able to support that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any mentors would like to add on that? Okay, then I guess we just move on to the next one. Next, this is from Zen. If one of the teams submits more tracks than expected, are they disqualified, or the judges will pick randomly what they view? We find all projects are worth sharing, so it's hard to pick. Let me answer this. Maybe some of our mentors can also add to this, but usually what we're going to do as an organizing team is we're going to contact you and ask you what is the project that you really wanted to submit, because once again it's also on our submission guidelines and our rules that you will only be able to submit one main track project. So once again, if you really want to submit another one, we have the additional track or our bounty we call dev experience. And yeah, I think that's another avenue for you to submit a new deliverable apart from your main track. But yes, once again, we would only be requiring you to choose one. So whether it reaches the judges, our organizing team who's going to review this as well will be contacting you back and will ask you which one would you choose to submit. Mentors, would you want to add on that, or we're good? Okay, So I think we can move to another question. Can we also look at how other ecosystems and business have grown as examples? I believe, Doc, that we have this Twitter post about the past hackathon winners. So Hedera has actually spotted like five worthy of highlighting or exhibiting. I will just check how I can give you the link. Okay. So later after this, I will be giving you the link on this chat so you can check from the Twitter itself and you can refer to the projects that already has successfully launched on Hedera. Okay, next is let me just scroll. Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Our Rock. Can we submit project without selecting mentor? You can submit a project without selecting a mentor, but we would highly recommend you to, of course, select a mentor and talk to your mentors, whether you're refining a project or just trying to find an advice or polishing something. It's definitely recommended to talk to your mentors. But yep, you can submit a project without selecting a mentor. You just need to select a main track to submit to. Oh, yeah. This one, how can we get on the open dev calls? Maybe Fermin or Louise?
I'm happy to chime in while they figure out their mic. Uh, so HBAR Innovator, I love the question. Every week, twice a week on Wednesdays for the European time zones. I forget the time. It's like 4 a.m. Eastern time, which is, I don't know, like 10 a.m. Central European time. And then Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we do open-ended Q&A sessions on our developer Discord. So how do you tune in? You just go to the Discord that you're already a part of as a participant in the hackathon, and there's a public voice channel. That's where you're gonna find folks like myself, Jake, Michiel, Fermin, and Luis, and others in the Hedera ecosystem, providing support for open-ended questions that you may have. So whether it's a dev technical question, or maybe you have some feedback on something you're trying to build, or something that you tried and didn't work, we're there to hear all that out and provide alternatives, or at least try help us find the answers and the experts if we don't know the answer right on the spot. And I forgot to mention Luke. Luke Forrest will also be there as part of those open Q&As.
Thank you for jumping in. I put the times and dates on the chat for everyone to have it.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'll put a heart on it so everyone can see. The chat has been set by Fermin. So if you can just scroll on your thread, you can see that yes, he posted it. Okay, great. Sure. There's a question here from Ashru. Hi there, can I present my project? Definitely, I think you can present it with your mentors later once you have the one-on-one session with them in a private room. So you can select once again a private room on your top. When you scroll up, there are 5 rooms there that's dedicated for each tracks. Or you can also have your chats at the cafe. You can just park in one of the tables and chairs there to have a private conversation. Okay, there's another question. How can we know how many projects to submit? I heard that top 100 submissions going to get $100. Still able to grab that? I think the $100 that you were pertaining to is for our sidetracks. And for the sidetracks itself, yes, we are giving away $50 for first 100 participants who can complete the Hedera Builders course. So it's called Building on Hindera course. So you can just give us and submit us the project from the form from Dora Hex listing. And then once we review it and one you're part of the first 100 participants, definitely you can get the $100. But of course, please complete that and please go to the Dora Hex listing and submit it individually or as a team. Next one is we have approved on-chain activities. So that this one is first 200 teams to submit a proof of on-chain activities will receive $50. Lastly is for the checkpoint. So if you submit before August 6, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, your team will receive an additional $100 for submitting it earlier. Okay, next. Can a project be both dev and one of the main track combined? Yes, as long as one main track and developer experience. So, developer experience is our additional track that you can definitely add onto your main track submission. Yep, so please submit and then go to the Dora Hacks listing of this hackathon so you can submit it in a different form. Okay.
I guess just to add to that, it does need to be related to developer experience though. So it can't just be, I don't know, let's say you've built an application. I don't know, I'll use the same example I used earlier. Let's say you've built an AI trading platform. You can't just submit that to developer experience. It needs to be either something related to that, which can be used for developers to learn about what you've built, or something separate like improving the documentation. But I mean, for example, you could do, okay, here's the application, and then you could build a separate tutorial, whether it be a video or a blog post on how did you build it, environment setup, going through those steps. That would then count for the developer experience part. Or something totally independent, not relevant to what you've built, which still contributes to improving developers' experience.
Okay, thank you for adding that, Jake. Oh, okay. Uh, this is from Core. Can you tell us about what you guys might be looking for in the sustainability track? What might be a good addition via Hedera, or maybe what can be a good addition in Hedera?
I will tap my colleague Giuseppe here if he's okay with taking a stab at this one.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, usually we suggest to look into the Guardian ecosystem, and especially I can share a couple of links.
I hope they don't have a hack in them.
Yeah, so essentially you can start working with the Guardian and try to find something to innovate on that side. Especially I suggest maybe two links. This one, okay, is not censorship. It is censorship resistant as a link, and also this one. So essentially these are two examples. These are currently bounties. On top of the hackathon, these are two bounties for the Guardian ecosystem, and you can find maybe ideas there. One is specifically for tech, and so improving the Guardian as a product, and the other one is for methodologies. So maybe you want to digitalize a specific methodology, or you have ideas how to improve the methodology library or the overall workflow architecture. So the Guardian is a big ecosystem, so you can definitely look into it and try to improve that side. It's not mandatory, so you can definitely decide to leverage the sustainability capabilities of Hedera instead of using the Guardian. But probably starting from the Guardian is, for an hackathon, is the best approach, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel essentially.
Okay, thanks for this, Abed. Do you want to add any other mentors? Would you want to add to that? Okay, then I guess I can move on to more questions. I love the crowd tonight. Really, a lot of questions. Yes. Okay, next is uh, demo videos. It's about demo videos showing how the app works. Or is it a pitch deck by a narrator reading the text? So basically, it's a question about the demo video that they're going to be submitting. So is it showing how the app works, or is it a pitch deck by a narrator reading the text? Mentors?
I'm happy to take an initial stab, and happy to hear also from some of the other mentors who have done judging in the past. I think when it comes to the pitch, the most effective thing is doing a walkthrough of that slide deck that you might put together, right? Explaining the context, the business need, the problem that you're solving, and then going over your solution. And the challenge is you have to do all of that, in a very well planned manner in about 5 to 6 minutes. And of course, there's going to be a ton of value if, in addition to explaining the slides, you're going to be able to show, maybe a portion of your code or even the functional version of the MVP or application that you have built. So, in terms of what's the most useful for judges, I think that's it. Like when don't just provide like a PDF and expect people to read it. I think if you're able to provide the PDF, but then alongside with that, you provide the video of you explaining your thought process, the market problem, your solution, the code and the functional version of your application. I think the judges are going to get a ton of value out of that, and that's hopefully going to help your submission in that judging process.
Yeah, I think I'd say more or less the same. But also, yeah, so I wouldn't do more than 5 minutes for the video. And I probably wouldn't spend 5 minutes of it talking just about the pitch deck. I think balancing it with a really high impact few points as to on that pitch deck in terms of what are you building, what validation you've done, and really focus on the marking criteria. I mean, because again, the judges have that in front of them, and it's sort of like that's what's going to be in people's minds. So if you can demonstrate why you should get given marks for innovation, why you should get given marks for market validation, etc., that'd be really important. Do it so it's high density, so that you're sort of just high, boom, 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 and then probably maybe spend about 2 to 3 minutes going through the actual application as well, because obviously there's a risk that sometimes what happens is when you run someone else's application, as all of us who are developers know, it's not just as easy as git clone, npm install, npm run dev. And if it's going to be taking a lot of time for judges and people who are doing the judging to sort of set it up, it might be a bit of a turn off. So demonstrating the actual functionality of your application along with Hedera testnet or mainnet transaction activity would be very helpful, and I think work in your favor.
Okay. Okay, nice. We have a question here that's a bit long, but I guess this person is asking about marketing tools we would be suggesting to him, because he said, I am the creator of FundGraph, a crowdfunding platform that believes for the event. It's now available in testnet and includes number one, page and donation system with utility token rewards. Number two, full integration with Discord for the community. And number three, native staking to give utility to token. And right now, I'm working on giving the platform your own metaverse. But I think I need to give the creators marketing. But yeah, so do we have any marketing tools or any suggestions that he can use?
I mean, it sounds like you've done quite a fair bit, and there's no harm in consolidating what you have. I mean, you've got reading through this. Yeah, it looks like you've done quite a lot. The submission is in 3 to 4 days. We have another 2 hackathons. It might be sensible to just take stock of what you have and focus on packaging it up so it's really easy to consume. Spending maybe a few hours on that video, which we mentioned earlier, because at the end of the day, you are giving your hackathon submission to a human. And as all of us who are humans know, we like things which look tidy, which are high value, which are have brevity. And I think if you can focus on making making what you've built, which again, it sounds like you've done quite an extensive piece of work. If you can focus on that, making it really consumable, so that someone who is looking at 20, 30, 40 submissions looks at yours and goes, great, this is just giving me everything that I need. It's making it really easy for me to understand what it is. That could be quite a good idea. And equally, like I said earlier, we've got 2 more hackathons where you can submit to the legacy builders. This creator marketing idea that you have, that could be something which you save for a future hackathon. In the time leading up to the next hackathon, you do a bit of market validation. You go, okay, what tools do you want? And you get actual users to suggest what tools would be needed. That can then funnel into creating a really good product for the Ascension hackathon, as well as helping pack out the validation part. Because if in the Ascension submission you go, okay, here's what I did in V1 in part one, I then spent 4 weeks speaking to real people. I did quote unquote interviews, and they told me this is what they need. That is going to really that's going to help you show that, okay, you've done the validation correctly, that you've done validation to a high level of excellence. So that would sort of be my opinion here. It's like you've done a lot. Consolidate it, make sure it's really user friendly, make sure it's put yourself in the shoes of the judger, who's probably going to be really busy, probably going to have another 30 or so, or 10, 20, 30 submissions to look at, and make it so that he or she is able to really easily understand the value adds and what you're bringing. That's my suggestions. What do other people think?
Any of our mentors would want to add to that? Three, two, one. Okay, I guess what Jake has mentioned sufficed. Okay, yeah, there's a question from Docs. He say, I'm confused. Pitch deck is the same as demo video. I have sent a bit.ly link so that you can open it. Once you click that, it will bring you to the hackathon's official website, and then it will show you the submission artifacts that you need to submit. So yes, project demo link and pitch deck in PDF are two different things that you have to submit. And for more information, you can click on that link so that you can follow through the instruction. Okay, you're welcome. Oh, so we still have four more questions. I know that you're all excited to talk to your mentors, but of course, we just need to tackle those questions that has already been sent to us prior to this session. Okay, next is the hacking period is only July 21 to August 8th, which feels short. Okay, do you have any advice for smaller teams who don't have a lot of resources but still want to deliver something meaningful and competitive? Keep sleep. That's what Panda says.
Yeah, that's what I'm laughing at. That's a great answer. 24 hours per day. Well, I don't know about that. You can try that for some time, but I'd suggest also catching up on sleep. That's a good idea. I would say, take advantage of the resources that you have, right? Like you have the mentorship of these great individuals that are on the stage. You have the support through Discord. You have the community also accessible to you via Discord and documentation. But you also have something that I guess we haven't really had as like species for most of our time, which is AI assistants, right? When you think about Hedera, HiveMind GPT, and Kappa that is embedded in the documentation, those are AI assistants that can help you understand the Hedera technology a lot faster, and perhaps even build faster than we could have before. So it's not like we're discouraging or disqualifying for using AI. Like we certainly want to see the usage of AI to build the highest possible quality submissions. So, just make sure you take advantage of those resources to build the best possible MVP in that 3 week hacking period. And then from there, take advantage of the other information that we've provided, which is not just about hacking for 3 weeks, right? Like the 3 weeks is that learning and exploratory period. And then as we have the other hackathons, the Ascension and Apex hackathons, then continue building and refining on that MVP so that it's not just a 3 week development period, but a 3 month, 6 month development period where you can fully flesh out, build out, refine, and optimize your MVP into hopefully a great solution that would stay here in the Hedera ecosystem. So, sure thing. You can call it vibe coding. That's absolutely fine. Another one that I would like to point you to is um, requirements driven development with AI. That's a fancier term for vibe coding, but it's also more methodical. Like look up maybe some YouTube instruction or some tools on how to do that. But the idea is you're vibe coding, but not just with vibes, right? You're vibe coding with actual requirements that AI helps you define for your solution. And so you're in a way, thinking about that architecture before you jump straight into the implementation. You think about those requirements, those steps that you're going to take, and then you help, or you have AI help you implement those steps in a more cohesive manner than just vibe coding. So yeah, I say don't skip your sleep. Sometimes you have to. Maybe the last 2 days of the hackathon you might need to, but make sure you use all the resources, including AI.
Yeah, and I guess just to add as well, I think definitely leveraging AI effectively is going to help sort of bring, make it feel like you've got an extra 5 devs on your team. Uh, Also, I've just dropped a link to some of the templates that we offer out of the box, and there's 2 templates here. There's one Hedera Agent Kit Next.js template, and there's one Hedera Create React App dApp template. And basically, what these templates do is they give you a foundation where out of the box you already have things like Wallet Connect set up, you already have a chatbot set up, and you can use it to then go straight into the actual building the relevant application. So I think leveraging tools like that makes a lot of sense, but also not trying to bite off more than you can chew. Appreciate that there's another 2 hackathons, and again, you can go into you might have a new product now, but you can go into the legacy builder for part 2 and part 3. And I would say get the balance right of trying to build loads of stuff versus doing a few things and doing it really well. Because again, looking at the judging criteria, we've got things like execution. And if you've just built sort of 50 things which don't work, you're probably going to get 0 for execution. Whereas you build 1 or 2 things which work very well, you show us the transactions, you show us the proof of it working, you give us a demo, it's easy for a mentor or a judge to try it out. That's going to score quite highly. So I think that those are important things to highlight as well. And often what we've seen in the past in these hackathons is that people will build an amazing application, but they leave the Hedera part till last. And then they go, okay, yeah, I've got this really nice UI and I've got this event-driven architecture and it's deployed on AWS and blah, 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 blah. But I wasn't able to do my smart contract. So here's a random token I've created. And it's like, hang on. Yes, what you've done is great, but we're a Hedera hackathon. And on the Hedera side, which is what we market on, you've got 1 out of 5. So really focus on the Hideera aspect. Make sure that you've got something which is working well and makes sense. And I think you'd be surprised by how far that goes. And mention that in V2 and Hackathon 2, Hackathon 3, this is what I plan on doing as well.
Yep. Big plus one on that very last point, Jake, which is use those additional hackathons in your favor because typically as a judge, one of the things that I like to see is what's next, right? What is your thought process as to next steps that you can take or next improvements that you can make? And so now that you know that you're going to have Ascensions and Apex available to you, use that to tell the judges about your roadmap, right? What are some of the next priorities that you could set up for the project, the next series of improvements you can make, and especially if you communicate that intention of coming back and continuing to build out on this MVP that you're developing.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Actually, we're still 3 more questions away before we can all go to our private rooms to talk to your mentors. And I guess this is a good problem. We'll be running a bit of we will be overrunning around 15 to 20 more minutes. But yes, this is the last AMA, so let's make the best out of this. Third to the last question. In the AI and agents track, some of us are experimenting with agents that can execute transactions on Hedera automatically. Do you think that kind of innovation is what you're hoping to see this year? Or are simpler AI integrations still valuable? maybe
Oh,
for an agents.
yeah, sorry, I'm just rereading it because I cut out there a bit. In the AI agents track some of us experiencing ages like an execution transaction. Do you think those kind of innovations what you see this year or are simpler? So I would say here, this is definitely, yeah. Okay, I'll be brutally honest. I don't think this is necessarily too innovative anymore. This is sort of the status quo when it comes to AI agents. That's not to say it's bad. Again, we've got sort of it's still innovative relative to an NFT marketplace, so it will still score highly in that regard. But in terms of this is what we'd be expecting when it comes to AI agents. It would be, okay, yeah, an AI agent which can execute transactions, and with tools like the Hedera agent kit, which is a very robust set of tools for building AI agents in any framework that you want, whether it be LangChain or Vercel AI or with MCP, all of that's possible. So I think, yeah, that's kind of that would kind of be the expectation with agents. And then to be really innovative, I guess it's hard to say what's really innovative, because then at that point it probably doesn't become that innovative. But in terms of, yeah, it's still more innovative relative to other stuff. But from the AI perspective, autonomous transaction execution is relatively it's the status quo at the moment.
Great. Does anyone want to add with that, mentors? 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I was in an area where I couldn't be heard. Yeah, I just echo what Jake was saying. If you're gonna have an agent in a hackathon, using the services of that, I mean, you're gonna want it to be executing transactions. So since this is a Hedera one, you'd be wanting it to execute Hedera transactions. If not automatically, as a prompt to the user to approve of, like giving a summary of what the transactions are going to be and what they're going to do, and then it's called intents, and then have the user approve those intents using Hedera services. But yeah, as Jake was saying, it's kind of like a status quo right now. Like so it's sort of like the baseline. Like that's you're in a Hedera hackathon with an agent. You want that agent to execute Hedera transactions.
I guess, Michael, you raise a really good point on how actually it doesn't necessarily just need to be autonomously executing, but actually you can use the what we've termed the return bytes mode. So again, if you have a look at that Hedera agent kit, you check it out, you look at some of the examples, you'll see that the Hedera agent kit has 2 operation modes. The first mode is when you give it its own private key. It's got its own Hedera account. Great. It can do its own transactions willy-nilly. But potentially, and actually I would say this is more innovative, because I'm yet to see it too often, or at least as easily as we've done it in our agent kit in other ecosystems, where, yeah, you don't actually execute the transaction. You convert it into transaction bytes, and then you send it over to the client, to the front end, to then actually see what the transaction is and give them that human in the loop approval. And that is probably, I would say, it's slightly more difficult to implement than a basic autonomous agent. It's very possible, as you can see with the examples that we have in the Hedera agent kit and in the agent kit Next.js template I shared above. But that would also go, I think, sort of more highly when it comes to feasibility, because at the moment we're at a stage where it is more feasible for people to still make the final executive decision, I want to execute this transaction, as opposed to letting the AI do it totally autonomously.
Okay. Does anyone want to add to that? Okay. Then I guess I'll go to the second last question. Here we go. The dev experience bonus track is interesting. From a judge's perspective, which would have more impact? Creating new tools like SDKs or libraries, or improving the documentation and onboarding so it's easier for new developers to start on Hedera?
So I would like to see. I don't think we need especially more SDKs, but like some libraries or tooling that can help like developers. And other than that, like you can improve the documentation by adding new tutorials, but it would be more fun, for example, if you created gamified onboarding tooling that shows you or teaches you how to learn Hedera in like a fun way. So these kind of things are like very valuable for like the entire community. So when you build something, think of it like what has the most impact on the developer community or like new developers coming to Hedera, I would say.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And Chris, would you want to add more?
Yeah, I think just to expand on what Michiel said, maybe for this particular bonus track, right, of developer experience, um, one lens you could apply is two criteria, right? Like reach or visibility. For instance, how many developers would actually see this improvement or this reduction in friction that I'm contributing? And then the other one, in addition to reach, the other criteria would be impact. Like how much, how can I quantify like the improvement and how easy it's making that experience? So how many people I'm reaching and the magnitude of the improvement. Um, and so if you look at it from those two perspectives, you can arrive at things that can have a pretty high score based on both, right? So for example, if you decided that you looked at how you verify smart contracts on Hedera and you don't like that, and maybe you want to contribute a PR to improving something in the tooling, that would be a great type of contribution. So you can again contribute PRs directly, or maybe you wanted to see a tutorial that would have been helpful to you and your hacking and development journey, and it wasn't there. Then contribute that, right? And that could be a fantastic way to go for that track. Or if you think you would need or benefit from a completely new SDK or library, go ahead and build that. I get the sense that that's probably a pretty hefty load and maybe medium to low return. So I think I would probably advise focusing on what are the medium to low effort things that would have that broad reach and high impact. So documentation contributions, maybe PRs to improve things in the existing tooling. That's probably the guidance that I would give. But again, if you want to go ahead and build something new that we're not thinking about, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I think just to echo what's been said, it's where I think you're going to see the most success in this particular sidetrack is those low hanging fruits. It's where you can demonstrate you've got your own experience. Okay, for me, I tried this tutorial, it didn't work, and then you fix it, and that is going to be really tangible because one, you've proven that someone's done it, so someone tried to use it, i.e., you. Two, you've made it better, and on the other side, you haven't had to build your own massive SDK. You haven't sort of had to build too much. Really this is good for sort of those low hanging fruit stuff. Now, another thing I'd also emphasize: do try to focus on quality. And by that, I mean just things like spelling. Make sure that there aren't any spelling mistakes. Details like that are obviously quite important for developer documentation. Make sure that there is like a narrative and it does logically flow. You can definitely use AI to sort of be a little co-marker on that. But I think that would be something else to look out for, where maybe a judge is going through it and they see lots of spelling mistakes or sort of a narrative which doesn't really make too sense. Maybe you've sort of mixed up two paragraphs, whatever. That's probably gonna draw the grade down, despite it potentially being a very good idea.
Okay. I guess our mentors has really provided a very comprehensive answer. Now, I'll be moving to the last question that we have received from our form. Will there be opportunities for the community to get involved in judging or voting? Or is the decision making handled entirely by Hedera's core team and ecosystem partners? Let me take this question. Of course, if mentors would like to add on this. For this origins, we will not be involving the community, but thank you for floating that idea on. Maybe we can think about this for our next few more hackathons, and it will be handled by the Hedera's core team and ecosystem partners. Mentors, would you want to add on that?
Yep, happy to add a little bit of context there. So in previous hackathons, we have involved the community, and it's always interesting because we have received some mixed feedback. And so this time around, just to adjust based on that feedback, we're keeping the judges to entities associated with the Hedera partners. So, for instance, people from Hedera, the Hedera Foundation, people from Hashgraph. So these organizations that are more neutral to the ecosystem, and just for the sake of transparency, just to bubble up some of the feedback that we saw is maybe some hackers did not feel comfortable with having their submission being judged by someone who's also building in the community, right? Like if you think about it, there may be a few narrow cases where maybe what I'm building could be taken advantage of by a community judge. And so, we heard that feedback, we adjusted, and then if you have different feedback, if you have different thoughts, if you want to see the community involvement, please let us know and give us some ideas as to what capacity we can involve the community in. But this time around, only Hedera ecosystem partners.
Yep. Okay. Would anyone would want to add to that? And I guess we have reached the last question. So now, for the most awaited time to have a one on one conversation with your mentors, please proceed to your private rooms. You can find it on the top, or you can go to the cafe to have a conversation with them. So we can all proceed there and have your conversation, have your project presented to your mentors. Please do so. And once again, our submission will be on August 8, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, I know that this is the last AMA, but definitely we can still have you on the Discord channel under the Mentors Assistance, and you can just provide us with your questions, and definitely our mentors will be there to help. You can expect their response within at least 24 hours, but usually it's earlier than that. Yep, and thank you so much for staying with us until this time and for investing your time into this AMA. And I hope that everyone is having a good time hacking. I know that some of you might not be sleeping, or maybe towards the submission period you might not be sleeping. So please take care of your health, but then enjoy hacking. And once again, do you guys have any coffee left in the cafe? That's a good question. Maybe. Okay, sure. Thank you so much, everyone. So you can all proceed to talk to your mentors, our mentors. You can also all proceed to each rooms or wherever you're more comfortable to have a conversation with the participants.